Alright, so this is going to be the movie review. This one's called M, 1931. This is going to be another Adrian recommendation. Actually, I had on my list already, but Adrian has no idea what's on my list, unlike Karate Man. So he kept recommending it over and over again. I guess that's why he doesn't make any recommendations. He ran out. I think Karate Man ran out too. I'm going to have to add some M. Emmett Walsh movies. I'm giving you 4 out of 5 stars. I thought the ending was disappointing, but the last part of the movie where Peter Lorre is being put on trial by a bunch of vigilantes in 1931 Germany. Is that when Hitler rose to power? 1931? Interesting times. I think Germany had just been through a bout of hyperinflation. Thanks to going off the gold standard and printing money out of thin air, kind of like what we do here in the United States. Printing money to pay for war. Yeah, that's what Germany did in the 20s, man. They did it very badly. Anyways, my grandmother said they had to bring buckets full of money to pay for stuff. For a loaf of bread. A loaf of bread cost a barrel full of money. Back in the 20s. M is a 1931 German mystery thriller film. Directed by Fritz Lang and starring Peter Lorre as Hans Becker. Now, Peter Lorre is the reason to watch. And I'll tell you why later. If they had put more scenes with Peter Lorre losing his mind as a serial killer, that would have been an excellent film. Peter Lorre, a serial killer who targets children in his third screen role. This is not his film debut. I guess he did 2 German films prior to this. M centers on the efforts of both a city's police force and its criminal syndicates to apprehend a serial child murderer. The film's screenplay was written by Lang and his wife, Thea von Harbo. It features many cinematic innovations, including the use of long tracking shots and the music leitmotif in the form of In the Hall of the Mountain King, which is repeatedly whistled by Lorre's character. Lang regarded the film as his magnum opus and is widely considered one of the greatest films of all time and an indispensable influence on modern crime and thriller fiction. An American U.S. remake under the same title, directed by Joseph Losey, was released in 1951. M, produced by Neurofilm AG, distributed by Varenjet Starfilm GmbH, release date May 11, 1931, running time 111 minutes, country Germany, and language German. So you can watch it on free through you can watch it for free on YouTube. It's public domain in Berlin. and it's got English subtitles to help you with. If you're like me and you can't remember German language from age 4, it's got subtitles for you. In Berlin, a group of children are playing an elimination game in the courtyard of an apartment building using a macabre chant about a child killer. This is what a way to start off a movie. A bunch of kids playing a game about being a serial killer. Frau Beckman sets the table for lunch, waiting for her daughter Elsie to come home from school. A wanted poster warns of a serial killer preying on children as anxious parents wait outside the school. Elsie leaves school, bouncing a ball on her way home. She is approached by Hans Beckert, who is whistling In the Hall of the Mountain King by Edvard Grieg. He offers to buy her a balloon from a blind street vendor. Great looking balloon, by the way. Kind of creepy, actually. And he walks and talks with her. Elsie's place at the table remains empty. Her ball rolls away from a patch of grass, and her balloon gets briefly caught in the telephone lines overhead before blowing it away in the wind. So Elsie gets killed off camera. In the wake of Elsie's disappearance, anxiety runs high among the public. Beckert sends an anonymous letter to the newspapers taking credit for the child murders and promising that he will commit others. The police extract clues from the letter using the new techniques of fingerprinting and handwriting analysis. Under mounting pressure from the government, the police work around the clock. Inspector Carl Lohman, head of the homicide squad, instructs his men to intensify their search and to check the records of recently released psychiatric patients, focusing on any with a history of violence against children. They stage frequent raids in seedier parts of the city to question known criminals, disrupting organized crime so badly that Der Schranker, the safecracker, summons the bosses of Berlin's Ring Verein to a conference to address the situation. They decide to organize their own manhunt, assigning beggars to watch the children. The police search Beckert's rented room, find evidence there connecting him to both the letter and the past crime scene, and lie in wait to arrest him. So the Keystone Cops, this movie has element of Keystone Cops as well as exceptional acting from Peter Lorre. Beckert sees a young girl in the reflection of a shop window. Beckert begins to follow her, but he stops when the girl meets her mother. He encounters another girl and he befriends her, but the blind balloon vendor recognizes his whistling. The vendor alerts one of his friends, who follows Beckert, and the friend sees him inside a shop with the girl. As the two exit on the street, the man chalks the letter M for murderer on his palm, pretends to trip and bumps into Beckert, making the back of his overcoat with the letter, marking the back of the overcoat with the letter. And this is where the girl calls Peter Lorre his uncle for some odd reason. The girl notices the chalk. She offers to clean it for him, but before she finishes, Beckert realizes he is being watched and he flees without her. Attempting to avoid the beggars, Beckert hides inside large office building just before the workers leave for the evening. The beggars call Der Schranker, who arrives at the building with a team of other criminals. They capture and torture one of the watchmen for information, and after capturing the other two, search the building, and they catch Beckert in the attic. When one of the watchmen trips the silent alarm, the criminals narrowly escape with their prisoner before the police arrive. Franz, one of the criminals, is left behind in the confusion, and he is captured by the police by falsely claiming that one of the watchmen was killed during the break-in. Lohman tricks Franz into admitting that the gang's only motive was to find Beckert and revealing their plans for him. The criminals take Beckert to an abandoned distillery to face a kangaroo court. He finds a large silent cloud awaiting him. Beckert is given a lawyer who gamely argues in his defense, but Beckert, the lawyer fails to win any sympathy from the improvised kangaroo court jury. Beckert delivers an impassioned monologue saying he cannot control his homicidal urges, while the other criminals break the law by choice. He questions why they believe they have any right to judge him. What right have you to speak? Criminals, perhaps you are even proud of yourselves, proud of being able to crack into safes or climb into buildings or cheat at cards, all of which it seems to me you could have just as easily give up if you had learned something useful, or if you had jobs, or if you were not such lazy pigs. I cannot help myself. I have no control over this evil that is inside me, the fire, the voices, the torment. Beckert pleads to be handed over to the police. His lawyer points out that Der Schenker, presiding over the proceedings, is wanted on 3 counts of manslaughter, and that it is unjust to execute an insane man. Just as the mob is about to kill Beckert, the police arrive to arrest him and the criminals. As the panel of judges prepares to deliver their verdict at Beckert's trial, the mothers of 3 of the victims weep in the gallery. Frau Beckman says that no sentence will bring the dead children back, and one has to keep closer watch over the children. So that was a rather abrupt and not a great ending. The movie is long. It is 111 minutes. But other than that, great acting for Peter Lorre. Some nice Keystone Cops. The criminals doing the Keystone Cops job. Lang placed an advertisement in the newspaper in 1930 stating that his next film would be Murder Unter Uns, Murderer Among Us, and that it was about a child murderer. He immediately began receiving threatening letters in the mail, and he was also denied a studio space to shoot the film at the Stacken Studios. When Lang confronted the head of Stacken Studio to find out why he was being denied access, the studio head informed Lang that he was a member of the Nazi Party and that the party suspected that the film was meant to depict the Nazis. This assumption was based entirely on the film's original title, and the Nazi Party relented when told the plot. M was eventually shot in 6 weeks at Stockton Zeppelin Hall studio just outside Berlin. Lang made the film for Nero Film rather than the UFA or his own production company. It was produced by Nero studio head Seymour Nebenzahl, who later produced Lang's The Testament of Dr. Mabuse, which I think I have on my movies list. Is that a silent film? Maybe. Working titles for the film included Einstadt, Suk Einen, Mortar, a city searches for a murderer, and Dine Mortar, Sight, Dish on, your murderer looks at you. While researching for the film, Lang spent 8 days inside a mental institution in Germany, and he met several child murderers, including Peter Kürten. He used several real criminals as extras in the film, and eventually 25 cast members were arrested during the film's shooting. Peter Lorre was cast in the lead role of Hans Beckett, acting for the film during the day and appearing on stage in Valentine Kadiev's Squaring the Circle at night. Lang did not show any acts of violence or death of children on screen, and later said that only by suggesting violence he forced each individual member of the audience to create the gruesome details of the murder according to their personal imagination, which is common in movies from the 30s and 40s. M has been said by various critics and reviewers to be based on serial killer Peter Kürten, the vampire of Dusseldorf, whose crimes took place in the 1920s. Lang denied that he drew from this case in an interview in 1963 with films historian Jiro Gander. At the time, I decided to use the subject matter of M. There were many serial killers terrorizing Germany. Harman, Grossman, Kürten Danke. Inspector Karl Lohmann is based on Ernest Gennett, then director of the Berlin Criminal Police. Peter Lorre is pictured on Wikipedia in front of a car as Hans Beckert gazing into a shop window. Lang used glass and reflections throughout the film for expressive purposes. Lang's depiction of the Berlin underworld in this film was inspired by the real Ringverein. The film's portrayal of the Ringverein as organized with a board of directors that was dominated by a charismatic master criminal was based on reality. Likewise, the practice of the Ringverein shown in the film of providing financial support for the families of imprisoned members was also based on reality. The break-in of an office building depicted in the film was inspired by the real-life 1929 break-in of the Disconto Bank in Berlin by the Sass Brothers gang, though unlike in the film, the objective was larceny, not to capture a serial killer. The Ringverein, which were officially wrestling associations that existed for the physical betterment of German men, always sought to promote a very respectable, almost middle-class image of themselves. Like the mafia, the Ringverein paradoxically portrayed themselves as the guardians of society's values who upheld a certain social order. The image of the Ringverein sought to protect was as professionals whose crimes did not harm ordinary people. Though the Ringverein were known to be gangsters, their hierarchical structure and strict discipline led to a certain popularity admiration for them as a force for social order, unlike the psychopathic serial killers who murder random strangers for reasons that often seemed unfathomable, sparking widespread fear and dread. In an article originally published in Die Filmwatch, Lang wrote that the crime scene in Germany was such compelling cinematic material that I lived in constant fear that someone else would exploit this idea before me. The Weimar Republic was marked by intense debates about the morality and efficiency of capital punishment, with the political left arguing that the death penalty was barbaric, while the right wing argued that the death penalty was needed to maintain law and order, adding to the. I tend to agree with the political left on this. Anyways, adding to the debate was popular interest in the new science of psychiatry, with many psychiatrists arguing that the crime was caused by damaged minds and emotions which could be cured. In the background was a possible obsessive fear of crime and social breakdown, which was fed by sensationalist newspaper coverage of crime. In addition, for many conservative Germans, the Weimar Republic was itself born of crime, namely the November Revolution of 1918, which began with the High Seas Fleet Mutiny. According to this viewpoint, its origins in mutiny and revolution made the Weimar Republic an illegitimate state that could not maintain social order. Lang followed these debates closely, and he incorporated them into several of his Weimar-era films. The debate at Beckett's trial about whether he deserved to be killed or not paralleled the contemporary debates about capital punishment in Germany. The fact that Der Schranker, a career criminal, serves as both the prosecutor and judge at the Kangaroo Court, egging on the mob of criminals to kill Beckert, seems to suggest that Lang's sympathy was with the abolitionists. The arguments that Der Schranker makes at the Kangaroo Court, namely that certain people are so evil that they deserve to be killed for the good of society, was precisely the same argument made by supporters of the death penalty. The incorporation of social issues in the film can be seen through the lens of Jeffrey Jerome Cohen's monster culture 7 thesis. The first of these theses states that the monster is born only at this metaphoric crossroads as an embodiment of a certain cultural movement of a time, feeling, and a place. Beckert, as the monster in this film, embodies the cultural element, reflecting Weimar society's interest in morality and criminality. And was Lang's first sound film, and he experimented with the new technology. It has a dense and complex soundtrack, as opposed to the more theatrical talkies being released at the time. The soundtrack includes sounds occurring off camera, sounds motivating action, and suspenseful moments of silence before sudden noise. Lang was also able to make fewer cuts in the film's editing, since sound effects could now be used to inform the narrative. The film was one of the first to use leitmotif, a technique borrowed from opera. It associates a melody with Lorre's character, who whistles in the Hall of the Mountain King from Edward Grieg's Peer Gynt. Later in the film, the mere sound of the song lets the audience know that he is nearby. This association of a musical theme with a particular character or situation is now a film staple. As Lorre could not whistle, Lang dubbed Beckett's whistling. M premiered on May 11th, 1931 at the Ufa Palast am Zoo in Berlin in a version lasting 117 minutes. The original negative is preserved at the Federal Film Archive in a 96-minute version. In 1960, an edited 98-minute version was released. The film was restored in 2000 by the Netherlands Film Museum in collaboration with the Federal Film Archive, the Cinémathèque Suisse, Kirsch Media, and ZDF Arte, with Janus Films releasing the 109-minute version as part of its Criterion collection, using prints from the Cinémathèque Suisse and the Netherlands Film Museum. A complete print of the English version and selected scenes from the French version were included in the 2010 Criterion Collection release of the film. The film was released in the United States in April 1933 by Franco Pictures. After playing in German with English subtitles for 2 weeks, it was pulled from the theaters and it was replaced by an English language version. The redubbing was directed by Eric Hakim, and Lorre was one of the few cast members to reprise his role in the film. I don't think Peter Lorre knew English very well in 1933, but okay. As with many other early talkies from the years 1930 to 1931, and was partially reshot with actors including Lorre performing dialogue in other languages for foreign markets after the German original was completed, apparently without Lang's involvement. An English language version was filmed and released in 1932 from an edited script with Lorre speaking his own words for his English part. An edited French version was also released, but despite the fact that Lorre spoke French, his speaking parts were dubbed. In 2013, a DCP version was released by Kino Lorber, and it played theatrically in North America in the original aspect ratio of 1.19 to 1. Critic Kenneth Turan of the Los Angeles Times called this the most complete ever version at 111 minutes. The film was restored by TLE Films, Film Restoration and Preservation Services, Berlin, in association with Archives Françaises du Film, CNC in Paris, and Post Factory GmbH in Berlin. A Variety review said the film was a little too long without spoiling the effect. Even bettering it, cunning could be done. There are a few repetitions and a few slow scenes. I'll agree with that. Graham Greene compared the film to looking through the eyepiece of a microscope through which the tangled mind is exposed, laid flat on the side, love and lust, nobility and perversity, hatred of itself, and despair jumping at you from the jelly. In later years, the film received widespread critical praise, and it holds an approval rating of 100% on Rotten Tomatoes based on 65 reviews with an average rating of 9.3 out of 10. The site's con- critics' consensus reads, a landmark psychological thriller with arresting images, deep thoughts on modern society, and Peter Lorre in his finest performance. 100% approval rating on Rotten Tomatoes and an average rating of 9.3 out of 10. That's incredible. I'm giving it an 8 out of 10. Rotten Tomatoes gives it a 9.3 out of 10. When did that ever happen? Mark Savloff of Austin Chronicle awarded the film 5 out of 5 stars, calling it one of the greatest of all German expressionist films. Savloff praised the film's cinematography, the use of sound, and Lorre's performance. In 1997, critic Roger Ebert added M to his great movies list. He proposed Lang's limited use of dialogue was a critical factor in the film's success, in contrast with many early sound films, which felt like they had to talk all the time. Ebert also argued the film's characters, nearly all grotesque, embodied Lang's distaste for his adopted homeland. What I sense is that Lang hated the people around him. He hated Nazism and he hated Germany for permitting it. That might be very well true. He was anti-Nazi, Fritz Lang. And he became friends with the communist Godard, the communist turd Godard, in Contempt. Was it Contempt? Yeah, Contempt from 1963. With the great Bridget Bardot. Wow. She's got some nice looking shoulders and knockers. Bridget Bardot. Lang considered M to be his favorite of his own films because of the social criticism in the film in 1937. Oh, in 2015, Taste of Cinema ranked the film 18th among the 30 great psychopath movies that are worth your time. And in 2024, Pace magazine ranked the character first among the best portrayals of cinematic sociopaths. In 1937, Lang told a reporter that he made the film to warn mothers about neglecting children. The film has appeared on multiple lists as one of the greatest films ever made. It was voted the best German film of all time with 306 votes in the 1994 poll of 324 film journalists, film critics, filmmakers, and cineatists organized by the Association of German Cinematographies. It is also DE. It is also included in Empire's 100 Best Films of World Cinema in 2010. It is listed in the film reference book 1001 Movies You Must See Before You Die. which says establishing conventions still being used by serial killer movies. Lang and scientist Thea von Arbo intercut the pathetic life of the murderer with the frenzy of the police investigation into the outrageous crimes, and they pay attention to issues of press coverage of the killings, vigilante action, and the political pressure that comes down from the politician and hinders as much as encourages the police. In 2018, it was voted the 13th greatest foreign language film of all time in BBC's poll of 209 critics in 43 countries. The film was also referenced in the song in Germany before the war by U.S. songwriter Randy Newman in his 1977 album Little Criminals. A scene from the movie was used in the 1940 Nazi propaganda movie The Eternal Jew. I've got to see that one. A Hollywood remake of the same title was released in 1951, shifting the action from Berlin to Los Angeles. Nero Films had Seymour Nebenzahl and his son Harold produced the film for Columbia Pictures. Lang had once told a reporter, "People ask me why I do not remake M in English. I have no reason to do that. I said all I had to say about the subject in the picture. Now I have other things to say." The remake was directed by Joseph Losey and starred David Wayne in Lorre's role. Losey stated that he had seen Emma in the early 1930s and he watched it again shortly before shooting the remake, but that he never referred to it. "I only consciously repeated one shot. There may have been unconscious repetition in terms of the atmosphere of certain sequences." Lang later said that when the remake was released, he had the best reviews of his life. Argentine noir classic The Black Vampire, released in 1953 and directed by Roman Vinoli Barreto, is based on Lang's original script. In 2003, M was adapted for radio by Peter Strahan, and it was broadcast on BBC Radio 3 on the 2nd of February, later rebroadcast on BBC Radio 4 Extra on October 8th, 2016. Directed by Toby Swift, this drama won the Prix Italia for adapted drama in 2004. Writer John J. Booth adopted the screenplay into a 4-part comic book series in 1990, which was reissued as a graphic novel in 2008. In 2015, Joseph D. Kukan adopted the screenplay into a theatrical stage play entitled A Summons from the Tinker to assemble the membership in secret at the usual place for production by the Los Angeles-based theater company, A Public Fit. The play is environmental in nature, transforming its audience into the members of the criminal underground who have captured and will judge the elusive serial child murderer. The play is primarily a courtroom drama presented with no fourth wall, and it utilizes flashback sequences to tell the story of the man's detection, capture, and confession. A brief segment of the play is dedicated to improvised audience debate and deliberation. In 2019, a 6-episode Austrian German miniseries adaptation of the film was released, entitled M, A City Hunts a Murderer. All right. Lots of material on M today. Whoa! M, the original title M. Einstadt sunt einen Mortar. Pardon my German. I'll try to put that in the tags, and we'll see how that goes. 2 people in the chat room today. Hello, is it me you're looking for? I can see it in your eyes. There we go. Okay, that's fixed. 1931, 1 hour 39 minutes. The version I saw was 1 hour 41 minutes. Had the extra two minutes, which is 111-minute version, the fuller version, I think. Gets a whopping 8.3 out of 10 on IMDb, 179,000 ratings. This is super lamestream. When the police in a German city are unable to catch a child murderer, other criminals join in the manhunt. In terms of popularity, it's ranked 2,230, up 202. So it kind of figures that Adrian and Karate Man are preferential to lamestream movies. Although they do appreciate the occasional B movie, their recommendations are just loaded with lamestream stuff, including but not limited to this one, which is not to say that I'm averse to it. I actually had it on my list, but so in some respects, I'm the same way in some respects, but not to the degree of an Adrian or Karate Man. Reviewers say M is a pioneering film, celebrated for its innovative sound, expressionist visuals, and intricate depiction of a serial killer. Peter Lorre's performance is lauded for its depth. The film delves into psychological and sociological themes, creating a suspenseful atmosphere. Some kind of find the pacing slow and notice age, yet many regard it as a timeless masterpiece, influencing later serial killer films. Here's a more flattering review from Alex Kolokotronis. That's a mouthful. Alex Kolokotronis gives it a 10 out of 10, and the title of his review is far ahead of its time and may always be on IMDb. More like this, Metropolis, which I didn't like, Citizen Kane, which is way overrated, Vertigo, great flick, used to have it on Laserdisc, and High and Low, which I have no idea is what that is. Maybe a Fritz Lang movie. I don't know. Contrary to popular belief, Fritz Lang did not change the title from The Murderers Are Among Us to M due to fear of persecution by the Nazis. He changed the title during filming, influenced by the scene where one of the criminals writes the letter on his hand. Lang thought M was a more interesting title. but I can't put in the tags. It won't, YouTube won't let me if I type NM. So I'm just using the original title and the tags in case you're confused about what I just did, because I'm confused all the time myself. In one of the police crackdown scenes, the German bar hostess keeps referring to the uniformed police officer in charge as Herr Hauptmann. The English caption translates this as sergeant, but in actuality, Hauptmann is equivalent to captain. Hans Becker is quoted as saying, "I can't help what I do. I can't help it." Criminal says, "The old story. We never can help it in court." Hans Becker says, "How do you know about it? Who are you anyway? Who are you? Criminals? Are you proud of yourselves? Proud of breaking safes or cheating at cards? Things you could just do just as well. Keep your fingers off. You wouldn't need to do all that if you learned a proper trade or if you'd work. If you weren't a bunch of lazy bastards. But I can't help myself. I have no control over this evil thing inside me, the fire, the voices, the torment. Do you mean to say that you have to murder?" Schrenker says. Hans Burkert replies, "It's there all the time, driving me to put out to wander the streets, following me silently, but I can feel it there. It's me pursuing myself. I want to escape from myself, but it's impossible. I can't escape. I have to obey it. I have to run, endless streets. I want to escape, to get away, and I'm pursued by ghosts of the mother and of the mothers and of those children. They never leave me. They are always there, always, always, always. Except when I do it, then I can't remember anything. And afterwards, I see those posters and read what I've done, and read. Did I do that? But I can't remember anything about it. But who will believe me? Who knows what it's like to be me? How I'm forced to act, how I must, don't want to, must, don't want to, but must." Then a voice screams, "I can't bear to hear it. I can't go on. I can't. All of the original credits appear only in the beginning with no music. In the English and French language versions, in addition to having been dubbed, had some footage reshot. These scenes indicate the telephone conversation between the minister and the police commissioner and the ending of the film. Peter Lorre's performance in the trial was reshot. However, this time he spoke his lines in English or French, depending on the version. The shots of him are lit and photographed much differently than Fritz Lang's original footage. Additionally, a shot of police arriving was inserted, taken from an earlier part of the film, whereas in the original German version, no police forces are shown at all. The court scenes have been eliminated and replaced with happy endings, where young children play a game similar to the one seen in the opening English, or a smiling couple watching their children play in the street French. This was edited into Junin Onimaski, 1937. Soundtracks Le Hall du Roi de la Montagne in Peer Gent Suite Number 1, Opera 46, 1876, written by Edward Grieg. Release date August 31st, 1931 in Sweden. Country of origin Germany, language German, also known as ML Maldito. Filming location Stocken, Spandau, Berlin, Germany. Production company Nero Film AG, gross US and Canada. $35,566. Gross worldwide, $35,566. Is this IMDb box office stuff any accurate for worldwide? I doubt it. Opening weekend US and Canada, $6,123. March 17th, 2013. Runtime 1 hour 39 minutes. Color black and white. Sound mix mono. Aspect ratio 1.19 to 1 and 1.20 to 1. So this box office stuff, I think they're talking about the restored version in 2013. Maybe that's why it doesn't make sense to me. It's in 2013 dollars, not 1931 Deutschmarks. All right, let's go down the list. Now let's go back to the movie review on IMDb. If I can pull it up. I can't pull it up. Okay, let's go down the list. First up is Saint Teresa of Avila in 1984, episode 7. Next is Snake Eater 3, His Law in 1982, followed by Saint Teresa of Avila in 1984. Episode 8, and I'm done with Saint Teresa of Avila television show. After that is Ursus in the Valley of the Lions, 1961, Sword and Sandal. And then I've got Padre Pio, Between Heaven and Earth, 2000. So those are the next 5 on my list, I guess. Although I've already reviewed St. Teresa of Avila, I love that show. It's great. Highly recommended. Check it out. Now going back to and the page just blacked out on me. Let's reload. Reload. We must reload. So I'm going to sign the paperwork tomorrow night for my agreement with the owners of this house. I've got to move out quick because the sooner that I move out, the quicker I can get the bulky second installment from the owners of $200,000, which is going to be fantastic if I can get that in late October or mid-October. Or even mid-September. If I could move out of here in a week or two, I'll get that money in mid-September. All right, here we go. And of course, I'm getting $50,000 in 10 days, and it's all tax-free. So that'll be good. I'll finally hit all my financial goals, and I'll see if I can grow my money with day trading options. And I'm going to try to diversify, get better at it. I'll mix it in with some with some treasuries, some municipal bonds, and some speculative growth stock ETF. All right, far ahead of its time and may always will be. What kind of English is that? All right, Alex Kolokotronis. What kind of name is Kolokotronis? Is that like a Czechoslovakian name? I don't know. Inquiring minds want to know. I gotta check out that 1940 propaganda movie about Jews from the Nazis. All right. So Alex Kolokotronis wrote this on June 29th, 2009. That's my son's, that's close to my son's birthday, about 15 years ago. Far ahead of its time and may always will be. Huh? M is a monumental film and seriously should be watched by all. For a film like this to be made in 1931 is just shocking. Even if the film was released today, it would still be nothing like we have seen before. In our modern age of filmmaking, there has been a considerable rise in the production of films about serial killers, their complexities, and particularly about pathological ones. Yes, M is the first movie that comes to my mind when I think of themes that have been in Psycho, Silence of the Lambs, Seven, and not to mention countless more. The film is led by Peter Lorre in a transcending performance, who plays the real serial killer and rapist in which the film is centered around. In this performance, Lorre is successful in something that at the very least is rare to see in any kind of film: compassion for a child killer or rapist. Lorre makes the viewer see that he is not a criminal by choice, but by sickness of compulsion. Too often than not is our perception of a psychotic killer having that look that puts fear into his or her victim's eyes. Lorre doesn't do that, but rather displays a frightened man, a scared man, one in which his desperation leads to his hazardous behavior. His portrayal of a killer is not of a fearless one, but of one consumed by fear, something that even today we as people cannot understand, let alone in 1931. The direction and writing of Fritz Lang is beyond comprehensible as he taps into the mind of a serial killer and his complexities. He does so in such that we get an empathetic and compassionate illustration of all sides of the story. This in which, by the end of the film, all points of view are more than well delivered to the audience. Fritz Lang here has simply created here a timeless masterpiece, one that excels in its technical aspects and enlightens the audience on a topic that other films still have not to match M in. I highly recommend this film for many obvious reasons and conclusions. This film was created by one of the great all-time directors in Fritz Lang. Lang's command for the screen is mesmerizing and a joy to witness, and so on and so forth. Yet much of this is mostly superficial and a waste of time to continuously state. M, as I mentioned before, takes a strong and original stance on an issue that we as a society yet have not fully resolved. The film may not give you the answer on this issue, but it may sway that moral compass of you that lies inside of all of us. All right. So it's not a super spectacular film. It's overrated like Citizen Kane. So in that respect, I was disappointed. But overall, a fairly good movie. 4 out of 5 stars. And that's the end of my review. Laters.